and YouTube and LinkedIn. We are live. Hey, everybody. This is Kelly Blackman, and welcome to another episode of How to Win at Everything, the show where we talk about, guess what? How to win at everything. Today, I have my good friend Monique, the clear communicator, Russell. Her last name is Russell, but obviously it's clear communicator now. And so, here, I'm going to start off with a quick intro, and then we're going to hop right into the show.
Have you ever wondered why you struggle to find success or fulfillment or lasting happiness? It's probably because your default wiring is set to lose. The How to Win at Everything podcast looks at real people who have struggled with the same insecurities, fears, doubts, and expectations and found a way to succeed. Why? Their brains are rewired for success. We dive into their thought patterns to show you how to rewire your own brain to win at everything.
All right. So again, I am here with Monique Russell. She is the clear communicator. Now, you're going to probably guess from the title that she's given herself on here that she is in communications. So, Monique, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, why you're here?
Okay, hey Kelly. Hey everyone. I'm
Hey.
Monique Russell, your clear communication coach. Yes. And so pretty much I help women and leaders pretty much turn likes into loves in their business and in their life using effective communication skills, tools, and strategies. I am originally from the beautiful islands of the Bahamas and
Woohoo!
also Nigeria. Yeah, so anytime I get excited, let me just warn you right now. Sometimes any accent, the ones that I am a part of or ones that I'm not, can come out at any given point in time. Hey, Emily. And so I'm just excited to be here. Kelly, you extended this invitation to me, and I gladly accepted because I am so excited to dive into whatever questions you come up with today.
See, now I just want everyone to hear this. Now, she says that she's excited. I had to track her down. Feel like it's been years now trying to get somebody of her caliber on the show. So thank you, Monique, for being here. I really appreciate it. The one of the first times we talked, if you guys, oh wait, I don't think you have it in the background. One of the first times we talked, Monique has like a full body length picture of herself in the background. Oh, is that it? And I was like, oh man, I gotta get to know this person because anybody who's that bold and that cocky is like, yeah, she is definitely going somewhere. So thank you for showing up, Monique. Thank you for coming on. Um, I want to first kind of jump into what it is that you specifically do. So we know that you're helping people with communications. Typically, you're working with women, you're working with leaders. What exactly are you helping them to do?
So, Kelly, anytime you need to communicate
Okay.
effectively with yourself or with other people, that's
Mm.
what I do. My superpower is using self awareness and public speaking. The blend mixed together, it helps women to get to clarity faster. It helps leaders to get to
Mm.
clarity faster because once you are self aware, everything else spills out from that. You become more aware of yourself, you become more aware of other people around you, and then public speaking just helps you to use your voice in a meaningful way. Most people don't say, hey, I need some self awareness, I need some emotional intelligence, but they do
Right.
say, listen, I need some public speaking.
Hmm.
So we use public speaking sort of as a gateway to dive deeper into that aspects. Although I will say there are a good amount of people who are aware and they say, you know what, I want to strengthen my self-confidence, which is another aspect of
Yep.
um, emotional intelligence. And that's what we get to do. We get to actually be in a brave space. They work alongside me. I provide training, I provide coaching, I provide
Wow.
feedback. I help them to really get to know themselves better and have productive and positive relationships using those tools and methodologies that
Wow.
I've created and crafted over the years.
Ooh, okay. So you're doing a lot in this
Hey,
space.
Israel.
Now let me just make sure now. So you're also doing, or maybe it has switched since COVID, but you were doing your own public speaking too, right?
Oh yeah, it didn't switch. I mean, we're virtual. I'm speaking with you right now.
That's right.
So
Okay.
in COVID,
Okay.
I continued speaking. In fact, my speaking business expanded exponentially because I was able to go and speak
Everywhere, right?
virtually in so many different countries. So yeah, look, speaking is my thing. If you cut speaking off from me, we gonna have a problem. You could take everything else. You can
Okay.
take everything else, but if you cut speaking off from me, Kelly Blackman, we are going to
Well,
have a problem.
look, I'll be the last one to cut speaking off from you then because I see it is your thing.
Yes,
so, so okay. Now, I know that you're specifically working with women. I know we've had these discussions about, and maybe at some point you're going to start including men in this. What is it that you're thinking that women need, or why is there such a need for women to have this sort of leadership training and this communication training? Like, where are women at right now? Because I thought every woman communicates,
everybody communicates.
right? Yeah.
So everybody communicates, but many people don't do it effectively. They do not have connection. They're not aware of why they are connecting,
Mm,
how they are connecting, how they're coming across. They're afraid
mm,
of feedback. Just earlier today, I was speaking with a colleague as we were preparing for a training next week. And one of the issues is that there are a lot of managers and leaders in the executive level who are afraid
mhm.
to let people go because they have developed a relationship with them. This is a true story. This is real life, Kelly. I'm not making it up. People are afraid, they're nervous to actually let people go because they've developed a
Yeah.
close relationship, or they have trouble executing consequences in the workplace
Mm,
because they don't know how to lean into conflict.
mm,
People run from conflict. People
mhm,
aren't aware of how to have those difficult conversations or build in the trust prior to having those difficult conversations. Because the truth is, if you're trying to give me corrective measures and you haven't built the trust by even
mhm.
recognizing things that I've done positively outside of those arenas, I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to
Mm.
hear it. I don't.
Now that so okay, so that sounds like everybody though, right? Like that's men and women. What is specifically going on with women? Like what is it that women need specifically in these places?
Women, listen, here's what I've seen. Women need that self-confidence, self-esteem development, that
Mm,
reassurance, because we've been socialized to have these roles, these gendered roles of just really playing nice and playing small and being humble and let the
sure.
work speak for itself. I don't need to. You talk about my poster in the background. I'm marketing myself. I'm a speaker. I'm not going to sit here and let the work speak for itself, because the work can't give you the perspective or the meaning that I intend for you to have. So women tend to need support in the area of just rediscovering how powerful they are and unlearning all of the societal conditions around how they should show up if they are to advance. So
Mm,
we're waiting for someone to give us that pat on the back to say, I see you, I see that work that you're doing, and now it's time
mhm,
for the promotion. Whereas, understanding how you are within yourself and understanding other people, you will be able to collect data and have a better understanding of who you're working with so that you can position yourself more effectively for the goals and the opportunities that you want
mm,
to receive. So it's really helping women to break free of the societal limitations, especially around communication. If you lean into a conflict, sometimes there are labels that, okay, she's being a bitch or she's being aggressive.
mhm,
Those things don't scare me because I know that these are just nuances in how we navigate within our community and our society. But
mm,
if you are a corporate professional, if you are a businesswoman,
mhm,
you definitely want to develop and master the skills of effective communication,
mm.
because you can't be hiding if you want to grow your business.
That's right. That's right. You because technically growing your business is putting you out there, so you're gonna come face to face with all of this stuff. Um, let me ask you this. When we start talking about, I really want to dig into your viewpoints and really kind of get some background on you. But I do have to ask this first. When it comes to this idea of conflict, are you seeing both sexes be the same way? Like, because it feels like most people in general are okay. Because it feels like most people in general have an issue with conflict. Um, if I know you have you got a free workshop coming up soon, right?
Yeah.
About communication. If you don't mind.
Yeah, it's about self-confidence. It's about building a habit of strengthening that muscle of self-confidence.
Okay.
So it's the training that where we're going to really focus on that, because
Hmm.
a lot of times we start to move towards our goals and then we
Hmm.
fall off, and we forget that these things are daily discipline. The same way we get up and we don't think about brushing our teeth. Well, I should
Hmm.
think you don't think about brushing your teeth. But you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the same way, it's almost like on autopilot. We have to use the tools and technology to enhance our
Yeah.
efficiency around self-confidence too, because it's not something that just stays there forever. It
Yeah.
can be influenced and hampered by our environmental situation and our conditions. So I
Hmm.
am looking forward to creating such a powerfully brave and safe space in that teaching next week.
I am looking forward to that also. So everyone, just so you know, men and women are both invited to this thing. Monique is actually going to be. You can already see she's a great speaker, very powerful, and she's so present and here when she's speaking. So Monique, if you don't mind, if you can make sure you drop that in the comments so that everyone can have a link to that. Um, now I want to try to get a little bit in your head and see what makes a Monique Russell? Because there are plenty of people who are there are plenty of people who want to show up more. Plenty of women who want to show up more in their businesses. And I just had a client who I spoke to Friday, and she's achieving some stuff right now, and she's one of the she'll be one of the first people to tell you I get this imposter syndrome so strong, it shows up. I like even when I'm doing the work, I'm feeling like I don't belong. I'm feeling like everyone's looking at me. I'm feeling like the other men, the other women in the crowd are looking at me saying I don't belong. The men are saying I don't belong. So there seems to be a lot of need for what you're doing. But what got you into this place where you were like, hey, this is something I one know I can do, and two that I should do.
So I think this actually called me. It was
Hmm.
this gifting. It's a gift, you know. So some
Hmm.
of us, we have gifts and talents that are and I think you asked me about that the other day too, the gifts and talents, right? It was a separate conversation, I think. But I do believe we all have special unique gifts and talents, and I think this work chose me. So I started speaking when I was 8 years old, Kelly, and I was pretty advanced for my age in terms of
Hmm.
my ability to connect and speak and really see things from a different perspective. But what I will say is this: when I left the beautiful islands of the Bahamas and I
Hmm.
went to the cold Minnesota to go off to school,
Oh, yes.
I listen, I had every bit of confidence. I could literally win the Miss Confidence World contest. Okay, if they
Right.
ever had one when I left off the college, this is, I guess, the youthfulness thing. But
Mhm.
after I went to college and I had my first son and I graduated and worked,
Mm,
started looking for my job and opportunities over time, I started to lose my confidence.
mm,
And so I didn't know that I lost it until I actually had an opportunity to sit down and reflect when I had a really bad situation when I was working on a contract. But my point is, you don't lose confidence overnight. It's a slow cooking process, but once it happens, you feel different. You're not really as engaged in the things that used to bring you joy and excitement. You
mm,
feel like, okay, I had an initial goal. I was
mhm.
supposed to be an international broadcast journalist. Kelly, I was
That's
supposed
where
to
you
be
started?
uncovering. This is Monique live reporting. I was supposed to be uncovering all the stories,
Right.
like Christian and I'm on Pearl and all of those people doing, in the fields, covering the
Yep, I
stories
don't know those people.
people didn't, want to express. But I guess in some way I'm a broadcast journalist now because I do
Yeah.
uncover hidden stories in people, in women, in leaders, in teams. And it
Wow.
just is that curiosity that I have. So for me, I think that this gift of communication skills development shows me. And in addition to that, the training that I did, I went to school and I studied journalism, I studied PR, I studied advertising. All of my credentials are in
Hmm.
communication skills development.
Okay.
I employ a therapist, I employ a coach. So, I mean, on every side of the communication spectrum,
Right.
um, which is important for people to hear because I see a lot of people say, well, it flows so naturally for you. It's just, it seems so
Right.
effortlessly.
Right.
It's not effortless, but I have had a lot of practice. I've
Hmm.
had a lot of practice and it is my gift. So
Hmm.
practice coupled with skill and gifting, I mean, yeah, this is part of how I am the way I am.
Hmm. Well, look, I get it. You definitely show up, but now because of the fact that I saw Emily made the point that it is important to show up, especially in a place that's so male dominated and that sort of thing. That being said, how have you kind of had to change, deal with that adversity, or have you had adversity in those ways when it's coming to being a woman who's a speaker who is so confident?
I didn't consider it or I didn't see it as adversity. So
Mm.
when I first started, even when I was working in corporate America, I was in executive support. And a lot of the people that I supported were men.
Mhm,
But I,
mhm.
I I never considered myself to be like, oh, it's only a few of me here, or
Yeah.
I didn't see, for some reason, I didn't see myself as being in a limited position. I
Mhm,
just found myself in an environment where I could learn, I could contribute, I could share my
mm,
ideas. And as I continued to move through, it was only until I became an entrepreneur and truly saw myself as an entrepreneur that I would
mhm.
say that's when those issues started to show up. Where
Yeah.
I would go into business meetings and I would have a gentleman say, you're intimidating, because I wouldn't sort of like, play the little foolish game, a little rubbish nonsense, because there's a lot of crazies out here. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I didn't start to notice it, the whole
Mm,
gendered relationship thing, until I became an entrepreneur and started to navigate in those spaces. But I still
mm.
didn't think of myself as having a disadvantage. And I
Right.
think that's really important, because if you see yourself as someone who is an effective communicator, it doesn't matter the space that you show up in, your behavior is going to present itself like that. But if I felt like, okay, I'm going to this event, I have to communicate in an
Yeah.
effective way. I'm thinking already leading with a doing mindset. So I got to do this. I got to get there on time. I got to scope out the place. I got to research the people on LinkedIn. I got to do. So I'm always in that state of doing,
Mm,
rather than I'm an effective communicator. So I'm going to this event, and as an effective communicator, I'm going to listen
mm,
to who's showing up. I'm going to listen to who's in the room. I'm going to see who I connect with, who my spirit connect with. And my goal is to connect with one person. So I think the mindset, when we have a mindset of who we are as individuals, not as opposed to our titles or,
yeah.
who the role that we're carrying,
Mm.
it influences how we choose to show up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, not only does it make sense, you just say it so much, and I can tell that you're going to be a great investigative journalist because you just stole like three of my next questions, like right there. I was really curious of like how this like plays itself out, like how it manifests itself when you're in one of these events. But then you just spelled it all out for me. So thanks. We're going to stop the show 5 minutes early now, Monique, because of you.
No, we keep going, man.
Yeah.
I got some more stories. What you talking about?
Well, look, it does make me think though. Do you get nervous when you're going to speak, that sort of thing?
Kelly, what did I tell you before we got on the show?
What did you tell me?
What did I tell you before we got on the show?
Are you asking me? You said that you were nervous.
Thank you.
Right, but I was letting you lead it, and so what does that look
Yes.
like then? How is it that a person who is stricken with confidence, who has done this so many times, why would you get nervous about any sort of speaking engagement?
Well, why would I not? Why would I not?
Well,
I
because
think
you've
that
done it so much, right? Like I
it
think that's at least the way that we kind of look at it, that you've done it so much, so now you wouldn't be nervous.
mm, okay, man, you tapping into something really, really powerful there. But here's the thing, I don't really subscribe to that belief, because that is the belief that, okay, when you are an expert, you can't get anything wrong. You know everything.
Right.
You don't face some of the similar fears that other people face. They are different. The fears that you face are different, but you're still going to face some fear. I got nervous because I'm getting ready to be interviewed. I'm getting ready to speak. And that is my body's physiology responding to, okay, you're getting ready to do something. So, how
Mm-hmm.
do I channel that energy?
Mm-hmm.
Nervousness or nervous energy isn't bad. We give it a meaning that is bad. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good. It's just data that says, look, my body is saying, oh, you're
Right.
getting ready to
Something's about
go
to
on
happen,
stage.
right?
You get ready to talk. So of course I will get nervous before I go on
Mm-hmm.
stage, if I'm going on a virtual stage or if I'm going on a physical stage. But I have tools to channel the energy, to shift that energy from something that would hold me back or
Mm.
derail me or make me feel like, oh, nobody's gonna want to hear what I have to say and all of that other stuff, to channeling it to, I get to show up powerfully for the audience. What did I say before? Even before we got on the call, I say, I'm here for the audience, right? I'm here to share from my story. I believe in the
Mhm.
power of storytelling. Our stories are not for us, it's for other people. And if
Mm.
it impacts one person, my job is done, you know?
Mm.
So yeah, I will definitely get nervous. Everybody gets nervous. That imposter feeling. I think that goal, having that goal or that metric, is something that is unrealistic. If you
Mhm.
say, I am reaching to get to a state where I never feel imposter syndrome, you're
Mhm.
setting yourself up for failure. Why do
Because
you
it's
want to do
always there
that?
sometimes, right? I
You
mean,
don't
at
need to
some point.
do that. You don't need to do that. So,
Mm.
I mean, the imposter syndrome is really your body's indication that you're moving into new territory, you're stepping into something new. You can be in an
Mhm.
industry for 20, 30, 40 years. And if you're shifting into a new territory, you're going to feel something. You're going to feel like, okay, I don't know if this is right or whatever have you. And then
Mhm.
sociologically, as human beings, we tend to see ourselves in other people. So we're not islands. You know, I'm from the Bahamas.
Mhm.
I'm from the island. I grew up in the island, but we're
Right.
not islands.
We're
We
not
are
islands.
social beings. So yeah, we're gonna
Connected.
be
Yep.
concerned about how we're coming across, how people are receiving us, if it's something that is going to be successful or not. This is normal. And the higher you play, the more opportunities you get to experience this feeling.
Man, I think that is so perfect. The Pretty much everything you mentioned, because it is it's a social construct that somehow we're supposed to stop getting nervous when neurologically, like, uh, the biology in our brain says that's how we know when something is good. That's how we know when there's a treat coming. And I've personally had to go through a lot to get to that point where I'm not shying away from anything that I'm afraid of at this point, because I know that that's where the rewards are. And it's so awesome that you brought up that this is kind of how we retrain ourselves to use that energy. Now let me ask you though, when there's something that comes up like that for you, how do you I, you said that basically you're switching that, you're going to use that energy for something positive. How do you do that? How do you do that? Because I think most of us start off with, we feel the bad feeling and we feel the nervous feeling and we panic from there.
Okay, so what you touched on is understanding the science of the body. So that's
Mhm,
another tool that you use in helping you to develop or redesign your communications system within your
mhm,
body. No two
mhm,
people are like, everyone's going to respond in a different way. But having an awareness of how the biology works or the neurology works in the
mhm,
body, when it happens for me, there are a number of things that I can do, no matter what it is. It may not be all at the same time, it may be one. So, what I do is I'm a journal junkie. When I start to feel nervous, I get my journal. I have multiple journals that I carry with me. One is
nice.
right here, but I have multiple journals that I have with me, and I basically put my feelings out. I've gotten to a point where if it's something that used to bother me, it would probably take maybe a couple of days before I process it. But I've gotten to the point where the thoughts and the emotions can come up and I can interrupt them. That's really the
Mm,
emotional intelligence awareness skill. Like, you can interrupt them as they are happening. In the beginning, it may take a little longer. Something happens, you
mhm,
still talking
mhm,
about it 3, 4, 5, 10 days,
mhm.
12 days, a month.
Yep,
You ever have,
yep,
have somebody keep talking about something over and over again,
yes,
and it
yes.
still bothers them. They can't let it go. And then you get to a point where you're developing that muscle, you're developing that skill, you're trusting yourself. You're using
Yeah.
spiritual intelligence to trust yourself. And then
Mhm,
it shoots down to like maybe 3 days. Something may happen, maybe 2 days you take to get over it. Then it may happen in a moment, in an hour, and you use that. So I use journaling to help me use a methodology to pretty much unpack, put the thoughts and feeling. Okay, yo, you feeling kind of crazy, you really feeling crazy, get on the paper, let's look at what's really happening.
mhm,
Or I may use deep breathing. I'm also a
mhm,
nature lover. I have a park not too far from where I live. I will
mhm.
walk in the park, I'll listen to certain things. All else fails, I get on the phone and I call my mama.
There you
Mommy,
go.
you know what I'm saying? So you're talking about community. You're talking about community, someone who can help you to process your thinking or facilitate that thinking in a way to say, all right, you're thinking about this in a way that is holding you back. And then I get into a state where I backtrack and I do micro goals.
Mm,
So if I'm feeling like I'm being held hostage because imposter syndrome, I'm on
mhm.
Instagram, because imposter syndrome is trying to hijack me, or it's
Right.
trying to interrupt my day. It's knocking on the door. It's like, knock, knock. Hey, I'm imposter syndrome. I got
Mhm,
say. If it's really something that's trying to hijack me, I will break it down. I'll go way back and be like, all right, what's the next right thing that I
mm,
have to do? What's the next right thing that I have to do? Maybe the next right thing is I'm going to get up and get me a glass of water, take my multivitamin. The next right thing is I may need to go unload the dishwasher. I may need to go
mhm.
ahead and write out an outline. I may need to go do some research. What is the very smallest next step? So I may not jump to the step where I was before because the thing is so paralyzing for me, or it may feel uncomfortable for me,
Mm,
but I can move forward in a small micro step. And that micro step, by the time I sit down and write out the outline or take that next step, okay, I may be washing the dishes. Okay, I've already processed it and something else starts to happen. So I'm still moving, I'm still making progress. It doesn't matter
yeah,
how small it is or how long it takes, but you're not allowing your emotions to basically
yeah, like,
control.
you get
Yeah,
addicted.
control
Yeah.
you. You're managing your emotions. You put your system in place and you're managing it.
Let me just tell you, one of the things that you kind of started off with, I feel like is almost like magical. Like that's how rare it is, and that's how special it is. I would consider one of the I would consider it almost a superpower to be able to change your mind, because one of the things that our bodies, our biology is set up to do, we feel fear, we give into that, we go. We feel anxious, we feel any of these things, and we become sort of a slave to those things. So when you said that you're getting to a point where you can basically stop in the middle of a thought, in the middle of a negative thought, and break it down, to me that is almost magical, because as somebody who works with people as a coach, you get to see that people are ruminating on things for like years and years and years, and they're never growing past this stuff, which means that now they are trapped by that stuff. So let me just applaud you first off, because that is an amazing thing to have. Let me also just give you props about the fact that you're, to me at least, you're doing the exact right thing. That is like God's work, to be able to tell people, hey, there is another option, versus just sitting there and accepting it, sitting there and taking it, and living under what is essentially somebody having their foot on your neck. So I think all of it is beautiful, Mo. That is beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you,
Um,
Kelly.
but now we're gonna have to get into the real stuff. We're gonna have to get into uh, for us, um, for us being just normal people. We're not all clear communicators. That being said, how do we first notice that, like, how do we know that we need to make any sort of change or a shift, or anything like that? Like, what should trigger that? How should we know? Because typically all of this stuff is in our heads. We're just reacting. We're never really thinking about it.
Well, so 2020 did us a huge favor.
Hmm.
Um, Outside of all of the grief, all of the loss of money, lives, loved ones, relationships, it did us a favor to help the world slow down.
Hmm.
And when
Hmm.
we are moving so quickly, sometimes we're not able to take those introspective or reflective moments to
Hmm.
be able to see clearly, okay, what's really happening within me and around me.
Hmm.
All we know is they out to get me. All we know is this the everything is not working. Nothing is working
That's right.
out.
Everything is bad. Yep.
Yes. And so when you start to think and feel, when you are in a, I don't know how many thoughts they say we have each day, and the ones that are negative and positive, but when you're having more negative thoughts than positive thoughts throughout the day, when you're feeling hopeless, hope is very powerful. When you're
Hmm.
feeling hopeless and you're in that state for a long period of time, when you're feeling like nobody gets me, nobody
Hmm.
understands
Hmm.
me. I've given up. I'm at the place where it's me and Jesus. I don't need
Hmm.
nobody
Hmm.
else. When you start to hear language like that, and you start to have feeling like that, and you are cycling through your friends, you're just constantly moving from group to group to group because you
Hmm.
feel like you can't fit in anywhere or
Hmm.
you can't belong. Those are indications that something is a little bit, off, and there's
Hmm.
areas for improvement for us to kind of like just really be honest with ourselves
Hmm.
and just kind of say, okay, I have some goals, I have some desires, that thing that I said I was going to do 20 something years ago. It's
Right.
traveling on my goal list every year and I have made no progress on it. So
Hmm.
you're in that state where you're hoping and wishing and praying and everything except being able to take even a micro step. So something
Hmm.
is preventing you from moving in that space of your truest desires. And as human beings, you have desires within you, and you deserve to have all the desires that you want. You
Hmm.
deserve to have that. So when you resort to a thinking or a mindset that, oh, I can't have that, that's something that I could never achieve, you're already in that state where you're feeling where like that desire within yourself is something that you need to stuff down or move away. So those are
Hmm.
indications if we're looking for triggers,
Hmm.
verbal triggers, relationship triggers, emotional triggers.
Hmm.
Those are some of the things that we can start to look at and to say, okay, this is an opportunity for me to explore and something for me to grow deeper in.
Hmm. Um, that sounds great, but isn't it also the case though that most of us are in kind of a malaise and kind of a place where we're experiencing those things, but maybe not conscious of them? Like, do you have any ideas about how we can, like, if it, we're talking to our audience today, let's each one of us can do something. What is that thing that they can do to stop and take a look at, or something that should let them know, If they, because we only have like this point right now of being conscious of it because you're talking about it. What are we looking for? What are we looking for? What are we looking at?
So for example, right now you're looking for exposure. So the fact that you and I are talking about this, someone who's not aware, who, okay, it sounds good in theory, but who's not aware, you're
Hmm.
looking for opportunities to be exposed to new ways of thinking and new ways of being. So when I studied journalism, we also had, to learn a lot about advertising, about media
Hmm.
and things
Hmm.
like that, and how it infiltrates our mind and how we think that we're making logical decisions, but we're really
Hmm.
emotional beings that think. And
Hmm.
so there's a lot of money, millions of dollars that are spent in media, in
Right.
advertising to get you to think differently, to expose you and expose your mind to new ways of thinking. So I say we don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is not a model that we're looking for something very outlandish and esoteric. Everything is already there for us, but it's used in different industries. So if
Right.
we look
Right.
at the media and we say, okay, we already know in marketing and other things, it's going to be 7, 15, 32 touches. It's going to be tied, that advertising is going to be tied with an emotional trigger. You
Hmm.
want to wear this deodorant, you'll be the sexiest beast on the town. So
Right.
it's
Right.
tied to an emotional thing. So when you're looking at how you want to transform someone, anybody who's listening to us talk right now,
Hmm.
your next step is to become exposed. You will hear people say, I never thought of this until I either attended this conference, read this
Hmm.
book. I
Hmm.
remember people were saying that they went into conferences and they saw a whole bunch of millionaires. I will tell you, unless you are exposed to it, what are you putting in your mind? What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to? Even if you're not aware, if you're unconscious about all those things and you still haven't connected the dots
Right.
that these behaviors are connected to pretty much some internal communication skills and
Hmm.
emotional intelligence and self awareness. Your job after you get off this live today is to go and become exposed. Expose yourself to people who are achieving the things that you want to achieve. You want that promotion? Go expose yourself to somebody. How are they living? How are they working? What are they doing? Go and become a student and expose yourself to people who are already doing it, because with that repetition, you're going to be able to now develop something. Something will take on the third or the fourth time. You're building that repetitive muscle of exposure.
Hmm.
And I need to say this is not going to happen overnight. So when people are looking for, I want the top 3 things to do right now, listen, I think that is also a disservice that we do to people. And that's why there are a lot of folks who get burned from service providers and professionals who sell them pipe dreams. They
Hmm.
sign up thinking that they don't have to do any work, that the coach is going to do the work for them, that somebody's going to hold their hand and do whatever. But that's a pipe dream that you're selling them. And I think if we continue to support this type of theory and myth, especially in 2021, I mean,
Hmm.
we don't deserve to be in business because we're doing a disservice to humanity.
Whew.
I
Well,
said
thank
that.
you.
I said that.
Well, thank you. So it sounds like the first thing that we can start doing, because even if you're not conscious of the negative self-talk and all these other things, we can all be consciously saying, "Hey, I'm going to aim for XYZ and start moving in that direction." And you're saying that that's actually going to help us to start filling in the gaps and start understanding the stuff that's going wrong there that maybe doesn't work right. That's perfect. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, let me tell you, when I was working in corporate America, I didn't even know about coaches. Okay. I just saw that all the executives, they were having coaches and stuff like that. I was exposed to it. And so I say,
Hmm.
you know what? I see myself as an executive. I may be supporting them, but I see myself as the same.
That's right.
So they have a coach. Let me go hire my own coach. That's how I started my process. we've been taught to think of therapy as, oh, that's for crazy people, that's for blah, 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 until I realized that it was a mindset tool that people use to maximize their individual performance. A lot of the things that I learned about myself, I learned through using mindset tools. But where would I get them from? My parents, what? You think my parents gonna be supporting that? What? No, they actually got exposed to it from me. So they didn't have the tools. They didn't have the tools to help me not parent from fear and help me to, not play it small. They didn't have the tools to give me. And we don't blame the people that raise us. They didn't have the tools. But what my mother had was a love for learning, and she instilled a love for learning within me. That love for learning allowed me to go and look up Susie Orman. I got out of debt. I thought I was the debt queen. I thought debt queen. Listen, you want to know
right?
Credit card? Listen, I didn't even have a pet when I was in college, but they gave me a Petco credit card. So I took it. Okay. So, but I didn't know. My love for learning helped me to go seek people out and to become exposed.
See,
and then from there,
there's not a 1, 2, 3 list, but that sounds like a great place to start. That sounds like, I don't know if you've ever tried to have just a random conversation and explain something like maybe negative self-talk or someone feeling like an imposter, but it doesn't usually go over too well because people aren't familiar. But everybody can actually take that first step of saying, hey, let me try to get better. They let me look at the people who are doing the things that I want to do. I think that's about as simple as it gets right now. I like that. Let me ask you this then. So we're kind of going along your journey. Um, when you're doing this thing, what is it in you that says I still can? Like, I get that there's a confidence. I mean, you maybe kind of touched on this. You're talking about your mom instilling this love for learning, but what is in you that says keep going, even though there's all of these things that you start to discover? There are times when you feel bad. What says keep going? What says keep moving past it?
So for me, I feel like this is connected to my purpose. My big vision is I've been here with my gifts. God gave me these gifts. He gave me all the challenges that I went through early on in my life so that I can use that. So I am teaching out of my personal experiences. And how selfish of me would it be to just say,
Right.
That's just for you. So my big vision is really, helping people to communicate, to pretty much have connection and to have better relationships. How I do that, right now, how I do that is coaching and training and speaking. I may do that another way by just, I don't know. I may be driving a school bus and helping the kids to connect. You know what I'm saying? My goal is about connection. So when I get adversity, there's a couple of things that I do to keep going. One, I look to that big goal, that big picture, that big vision. And I say, is it still aligned with what I want to do in terms of helping people to get connected and feel connected? Because I know what it's like not to feel connected. All of those things that I was telling you before, I used to feel that. Ain't nobody get me. They just don't understand me. They don't understand me, So I've been there. And so my thing is, I want to be able to help people to connect using communication skills and tools. And when I face those adversity, I look at my vision. I look at if I'm still on task with it. I may not be doing it the same way. And I also look at my progress. So I look back 5 years ago and I'm like, okay, where were you with your in your speaking journey? Where were you in your coaching journey? I mean, I'm a much better coach today than I was 5 years ago, and still I have work to do. I still am ongoing in continuous development. So I look at my progress. I look at the progress in my family. I look at the progress in my marriage, and those things help me to continue going. And I also think, because I grew up poor, I grew up with very humble beginnings. And so, I mean, when that adversity hit, it ain't gonna get all the way there. And if it get there, I could do something. I mean, I got some
That's the
skills.
skills, right?
I'm not gonna be out on the street. I mean, I
Right.
may move into your basement, Kelly. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
I got internet friends now. You know what I'm saying? So, the likelihood of me really heading all the way down
Yeah, rock
there,
bottom, yeah.
if I gotta come have my LinkedIn series post about who wants to host me up like an Airbnb,
That's right.
I got the skill and the eyesight and the fingers to write the post and ask for help. So those
Mm,
are the things when I look at adversity. I look at my why I'm doing it. I look at my progress. I mean, I think about where I came from
yeah.
and and where I'm going, quite frankly.
Let me ask you about your why, because it's obviously as a coach, you get this idea. It's connected to all the little things that you do. How did you know what it was for you though? Like, how did you know it was? Oh, I want to help people, or like, where did that thought initially like start from?
Well, so I know I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. Why do
Hmm.
I want to be a broadcast journalist? Why was I being so nosy, being curious? So when I talk about self-awareness and self-discovery, you truly need to be a student of yourself.
Hmm.
And I believe that the things that we were interested in our childhood give us a lot of data and information. It's really not that hard. You don't have to look outside yourself to find those solutions.
Hmm.
Look inside yourself and begin to ask yourself, what are you more inclined to do? Expose
Hmm.
yourself to a lot of different things. That was part of the, I guess, exploration. But then I went to a whole lot of women empowerment groups and I
Hmm.
learned about vision boarding. I learned about like just new ways of thinking because we had book clubs. And
Yeah.
then I started hiring coaches. And I think it probably be after like my fifth coach and after several workshops, because I would often fine tune that why, like, is that really it? Is that really it? Is that really it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Simon Sinek has a whole movement about finding
Yeah.
your why, and people go through that process, and 15 years later, they still trying to figure it out.
Hmm.
So the thing is, we are constantly looking for the answers to who am I? Like,
Hmm.
what am I here for? What am I supposed to do? And I
Hmm.
don't think that if you haven't found that answer, it's not a bad thing. Or you may find that answer and it may not be. You got to be
Yeah.
open to that. It may not be the answer. It may be the answer for you right now. It may not be the answer for you in 10 years. And that's okay. We
Hmm.
feel like we have to be
Yeah.
limited or boxed
Yeah.
into answers and solutions. And my belief is you don't. You don't. Yes. Yes, people need
Yeah.
coaches.
Emily's calling it. Yeah.
Yes, Emily. And the thing is, and so that's another thing I feel is so accelerating in the coaching industry, because typically in the past, executives would have coaches because it's
Hmm.
pretty expensive. No one's going to be dishing out, a minimum 5,000, 10,000, $20,000 on their frontline employees, and no one's going
That's
to
right.
really be putting that into themselves as a personal development tool. But executives pretty much had coaches assigned to them
Hmm.
because all the research, all the organizational data shows that you have to support an executive in their thinking at this level. Executive coaching is not about helping someone who has an executive title. Let me say this again. Let me make this really clear.
Okay.
Executive coaching is not about coaching someone who has an executive title. Executive coaching focus on that executive functioning part of your brain,
Hmm.
executive communication part of your brain, how you process your rational flow, what comes to the prefrontal cortex going to the back. This is what we're working on as coaches. It's executive coaching because we're focused on executive communications in your brain. It's just that it's been tied with people who are executive titled because it's pretty expensive. But now the industry has changed. And so many people, it's more accessible.
That's
It's
right.
many, many people. You didn't have one until you were a senior executive. Yes, Emily. And see, that's That's exactly my point.
Hmm.
That's exactly my point, because they knew that giving you that executive coach would maximize your
Right.
individual potential.
Yep.
So yeah,
And that was going to pay off.
it
um,
will pay you your biggest
right.
asset.
Well, if you think about it, it really does. What did you say earlier? You mentioned becoming a student of yourself. It really, I think a lot of us are afraid to invest in ourselves and maybe don't think that we're worth it. But I found more answers in getting to know me than I have in reading about more than pretty much everything else because of the fact that I'm motivated by XYZ, because of the fact that I do have a mission and a purpose and a goal. And to be able to live in line with that, it changes that general sort of unhappiness. 2020 was probably the best year I've had. With all of the negative things, with people getting choked to death, with viruses, with killer hornets and murder hornets, and I mean, with all of that, 2020 was probably the best year I've had, and mainly because of the fact that I've I've become able to be more in line with my overall purpose. And to me, it's like that is a beautiful gift. Like is worth more than the money that it makes me. Is worth more than all of the stuff that comes from it, even. Uh, so to find that there is a way for us to get into that, I think is beautiful, Mo. Especially the fact that you mentioned it's okay if we're not there yet. Like it is a whole movement about this, and you did mention Simon Sinek. I would definitely say read Start With Why, guys. Like it is one of the best books, especially if you're looking to be on this journey for finding yourself, finding out why you're doing stuff and what's important to you. It makes a huge difference. Whew. All right, so I had to get my rant on. Um, Let me ask you this because before we wrap, I really want to get more perspective from you. So we talked about where you came from. We talked about kind of how you're doing your thing now, but I'm curious about where you're going. I'm curious about not only where you're going, but what's the end game for Monique. So uh, if we're looking at the end, you're on your deathbed, whatever the case, how do you know that you lived a life that was good enough for you? Like, what does it look like? Describe it to us.
Okay. Well, I don't know where I'm going, Kelly. I
Hmm.
know where I am right now.
Okay.
But I know where I'm moving towards. So at the end of it all, I'm still contributing to humanity. I'm still working in my gifting, in my strength zone. And
Hmm.
pretty much I'm still showing up, continuously learning, developing myself, and being of service. That's as far as I can tell you.
Okay. Okay. Look, I get so many people who give the most generic answers to this. I'm curious of what that's going to look like. So whenever we're hitting the end of our lives, Mo, we got to like meet back up or whatever because I want to hear what it was, like what that life ended up being. I want to know. Um, I do think that you are a, a beautiful soul because I think that desire to give it, that desire to do the work, to even switch gears from, hey, I'm going to do journalism, I'm going to do this and that, and to even be willing to switch gears now and say, hey, this may be me driving a school bus in the future, whatever it is that aligns me with my path. I think that is such I think it's courageous, honestly. I think it's such a courageous stance to take and way to live your life. Um, I believe we're just up against the clock. So let me make sure we get all of this in. Tell the people where they can find you, how they can connect with you, what places you prefer.
So connect with me on LinkedIn. Just go ahead and send me that connection request. Let me know you listened to the show. Let me know what you enjoyed about it. You can also visit my website,
Hmm.
clearcommunicationsolutions.com.
Hmm.
clearcommunicationsolutions.com. You could go to Instagram, Clear Communication Coach. Drop me in Google, Monique Russell. It'll come up. And make sure that if you are interested in joining the habit training, self confidence habit training next week, Wednesday evening, just go on ahead and sign up for that. And Kelly, I think I need you to help me drop that in there because I'm not able to drop that in there.
Yep, not a problem. I'm gonna throw it back into the comments and boom. And so you guys, you'll see that in the comments. You can go right to the site. You'll be able to sign up. That's the registration form right there. Any last words you want to share with this Mo before we go?
Well, I mean, I just want to say thank you for having me on the show. It's because of people like you that help me to live out my gifting every single day. Thank you for Emily. Thank you for everybody else who joined us tonight, who contributed, who shared your thoughts. And
Sure.
definitely know that you're in the right direction. So you're in the right place at the right time. Everything is working out for you. Everything's working out for your good. So thank you once again.
All right. You guys, I want to thank everyone for showing up for us tonight. You really are the lifeblood that makes this thing run. So thank you guys for all your comments, all your views. Please make sure that if you see that YouTube link in the show notes that I send everyone, please go ahead and subscribe. That'll be awesome. Mo, hold on for 1 second. I'm going to play my quick cheesy intro and I'll talk to you backstage.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, everyone.
Ta-da!
Yeah. See you guys.